Just look at all of you. What a rich life my friend Bob had. Like it says in the program, I'm Howard Lambert, and I indeed was one of Bob's college classmates. What it doesn't say in the program was that I also provided a surprise bottle of champagne for Bob and Judith's wedding night at the motel on the mountain in Suffern, New York. If cell phones had been invented, then I'm sure they would have urged me back for a drink. But since cell phones were not invented, I probably sat in the Bronx with my parents and watched television. In early August, I got an unexpected itch to write a eulogy about Bob. There appeared to be no urgency, however, so I kept the task in my mental to-do basket. As it turned out, as we all know, I was sadly mistaken. Preparing this talk about my great friend Bob has been a wrenching effort, and the tweaking to find just the right word or precisely the right phrase has been emotionally exhausting. As time passes, I'm finding myself with a problem like the one that I had after my parents passed away. I'll have an experience or encounter a question and say, I'll have to ask Dad about that, or Mom knows the answer to that question. And then I realize I can never talk to them again. Another problem I am encountering is the very audible grunt I make every time a picture of Bob Stitzel pops up on my Google screensaver. I guess we're all feeling the loss of Bob in our own unique ways. Robert Eli Stitzel, nicknamed Stitz, like his son, was a part of the fabric of my life for 52 years. I trump most of you here in that respect. In an aside, my friends have told me this morning that David Stitzel is like a young Bob in looks and in voice, but you can tell David because he wears the earring. Bob and I met when he joined the freshman class at Columbia University College of Pharmacy in 1955 after a prior year's attendance at Cornell University. We never heard much about his scholarly efforts in Ithaca, but he sure learned how to dress when he was there. Amidst the collection of clunkily dressed, recently New York City high school graduates, Bob really stood out. White buck shoes, button-down shirts, striped ties, and a tailored tweed jacket that simply screamed out, Ivy League. My friends still refer to him as the Ivy League guy. It's no surprise then that Judith, she was Judy in 1956, found him so suave and captivating. Is there something funny about Bob being suave and captivating? Right from the beginning, though, and through all the years, Bob and Judith seemed to fit each other like a favorite old broken-in pair of jeans. In a photo I have from a 2001 class reunion in Monterey, California, they were sitting in a hotel lobby listening to friends of ours. Judith sat in the chair next to Bob, but her knee brushed his and her hand rested comfortably on his leg. That simple physical touch spoke of a level of intimacy and mutual respect between them that always moved me. Bob and I chose pharmacy school because his dad owned a drugstore and my father was a pharmacist who had somehow gotten waylaid and become a New York City policeman. Our mothers were both homemakers. We were pre-baby boom kids when families, particularly those of our ethnic background, only had one or two kids. Neither of us had a brother, but we made up for that in school when we joined a fraternal brotherhood whose connections have remained firm for almost half a century. The Stitzels couldn't make it to our biennial reunion this year in British Columbia this past July. So 10 of Bob's classmate brothers, more than 10% of our graduating class from pharmacy school, sit here today to celebrate his life. 9 sit amongst you up there in the 5th row, while the one with the least hair and worst New York accent stands here before you at the podium. Our classmate brethren became respected community and hospital pharmacists, physicians, dentists, lawyers, and drug industry scientists and executives. One who always marched to his own peculiar drummer is a noted landscape photographer. Our friend Bob knew early on, however, that he wanted to be an academic scientist, and as you've heard today, he traveled that path with enormous distinction. After our graduation in '59, as the program says, some of us stayed in school till 1961 to get master's degrees. Rather than hit the subway every day like we had been doing, Bob and I decided to room together for those 2 years, and we stayed in an exquisitely dumpy residence hotel near the Columbia University campus. 1 bedroom, bathroom, kitchen down the hall. It was memorable. Each weekend we'd go home, have Mom do our laundry, and bring back goodies to eat during the following week. Steak, potatoes, and Oreo cookies were staples, but for the life of me, I can't ever remember bringing back broccoli or any other vegetables. When our parental care packages ran out, we'd go around the corner to Broadway and have high-calorie, low-cost pasta at a local pizzeria. With all the time that we spent together, however, we never ran out of topics for conversation. And although there were some long gaps between our visits, after all, families had to be grown, careers had to be built, the conversational ease and good humor were always there. My wife, Carol, would sit with Judith in the kitchen of Casa Stitzel, and they would revel in the sound of Bob and my laughter coming from their living room. Although he didn't make our basketball team for some reason, Bob participated in intramural baseball, football, bowling, and as you've heard, was a Yankee fan right from the get-go. Judith Gold. Stitzel, on the other hand, was a Brooklyn Dodger fan during her youth. Her love for Bob, however, led her to adopt the Yankees and suffer with him through at least the 7 exasperating last baseball seasons. They shared an intimate, loving togetherness. What enormous good fortune. Bob wore many hats during his life, many of which you've heard about today. I think he excelled in those roles, in part because of his even-tempered approach to life. Bob, for me, was a what you see is what you get kind of guy, with no sharp edges and no obvious hidden agendas. He also experienced some rough places in his life, with the struggle with gastric cancer being his last and being the cruelest. But the persona he presented to the world was always calm and balanced. As said before, Bob was a mensch. The way I wrote it down was Bob was truly a sweet man, and I envied him his sense of inner peace. He enriched my life, those of my classmates, and those of all of you here today. Such a legacy. It troubles me to finish this recollection, since doing so seemed to suggest an end to my friendship with Bob Stitzel and the special place he occupied in my world. Bob was fond of an Alan Jackson song that ended with the thought, "We won't be sad, we'll be glad, for all the life we've had, and we'll remember when." His brethren and I will always remember when, about Bob. Regarding the future, I'll share my continuing private daydream with you. I picture Bob watching his New York Yankees playing baseball, sharing peanuts and eating hot dogs with his new friends, Babe Ruth, Joe DiMaggio, and Mickey Mantle. The setting is an eternally bucolic field of dreams where their seats are the best in the stadium, the grass is always lush and green, and the games are never rained out. Thank you.